Call the meeting to order. Chairman's comments. I got an email message. What was it? Earlier in the week? I think it was Monday. That the state had approved the plan for the entrance off of Route 1A, and so that will be going ahead. And so we will be expecting things to move along on that.
So are we reviewing plans of that, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay, that's all I have to say. A review and approve the minutes. We have minutes attached on the April 11th.
I had received one comment. I misplaced the Y and the yes and the no next to Debbie and Karen, and I will carry those changes forward.
Okay. Any other changes? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay. Project update. Thank you, Mr. Berger.
It is. We are scheduled to turn over fourth phase, which is the lower south on 531.
Not that we have a teacher. Would be interested.
We actually get extra work we need to do in her room. So.
Yeah, your room's not going to be ready.
It'll be a little later.
Sorry, but your room's not going to be ready.
It'll be a little bit later.
Moving in.
Details.
Student occupancy will be on 6-3. And right now we're in the final phase of finishes. And we're starting permit closeouts and inspections beginning Monday with fire. Correct, Tom? Fire?
Fire and testing and balancing.
Phase 5, we've cheated a little and started early in the gymnasium with some selected demolition. And
Good kind of cheating.
Yeah, and the electricians have been running rough conduit for all the future work that's in there. That's about the only work that has started in 5 outside of what was originally scheduled.
Trying to keeping it neat and clean. We had one little water incident this morning, but we just condensation from the old system.
Site work has not restarted, although we have cleared the area where the old ball field is. And very shortly we'll get into the last phase of site work, which can't start till the end of the school year because of the septic system needs to stay operational till that last day. Once that happens, that work will start.
Any update on the fire hydrant?
We have numbers, but we want to review them first internally, and then we'll bring it to a working group and move forward from there. But we do have numbers and things to talk about as it relates to the site and what people requested in terms of modifications, and then we have those items that we've identified that we have to do. We're going through those next. I know it's a short update, but we're really just ready to
Hit it hard.
Bring in furniture, and in terms of phase 4, bring in furniture and turn the space over. Any questions? The next item, can we turn one other thing, I apologize. In part of everyone's package, there's a what I refer to as a full week look ahead, and that just maps out for the next 4 weeks of construction activities. If anyone has any questions about it, they can ask, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Also in the package, there's a sheet that lists out the different activities and PCO number with an assigned value. The first. No, it just looks a little out of focus. The first item is the entrance, and that work has been captured as 94R1, and that more or less corrects the geometry issues at the entrance. The work will start now that the Highway Department or Mass DOT has approved the new curb cut permit. And that will start once school ends and collectively come to some money costs. Right now it's being proposed that it will be out of the construction consultants.
So all 3 of those costs will be out of construction?
No, for the top one, and then we can talk about the, well,
Um,
right now,
could
nothing
you
has. Yep.
Address everybody so we can all hear
I'm
rather than
sorry.
a one-on-one conversation.
I'm sorry, let me,
Talking about money, we want to hear.
no, the first one will be out of construction contingency. The others we can talk about.
First one being main
Yep.
highway reconfiguration?
Yep, correct, yes.
Well, I think we need to talk about that as well.
Well, we're going to talk about all of them, but yes,
So when are we going to talk about that?
we can set a meeting and do that. I didn't know if you want to get into the minutia of it tonight, or just see where the numbers are, what the events are, and then we can set it up as a working group.
Okay,
And
that's
go
fine.
through, and then just go through page by page.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Is that all right with you, Jim?
The second item up there is correcting access to the basketball court. Yeah.
Berm additions, I mean, I see that's a pretty big number for just that pavement there.
Well, you need to create the road. So it's just not putting pavement over the existing pathway. You're creating the road, we're removing the curb, we're putting in the slope curb so the plow can come up and over into the basketball court.
Is that where the arrow is now? Just to the left of it?
Right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And then to the right of that, just fix a grade berm, where it continues the green.
Yes, that stabilizes the slope.
So the sidewalk would be regraded?
Sidewalk will stay the same. What will get regraded is coming off the side.
So what we were concerned about,
Because it goes down now.
Correct.
Yeah, there's a big,
what we were concerned about is just that it's so close and the slope is so steep that over time that would grow, right? So that if we go and basically pave that slope, that'll keep that all tight so that all of a sudden, kind of the bottom side there isn't going to go deep, right? And then all of a sudden the side, that bituminous side just starts to go up. So that's a way to kind of tighten that. and then the road, just so everybody knows, right, is to be able to do two things. One is to provide, access down there as part of the muster, and then also for snow removal, to be able to provide, access for larger equipment, to be able to go and get down there, storing snow, and they can store snow down there, and then move it down. So that's the way it is.
So where's the budget for these changes coming from? Is this contingency? Is this?
Yeah, that's contingency.
Well, that's up for debate, it's up for future discussion.
That's where it is.
And there's no state reimbursement for this portion because we're already over our allocation for exterior work?
Correct. All the original project scope exceeded the allowable.
No, but for change orders, right, for certain design change orders, there's actually an additional 1% that's available for reimbursement. So these change orders...
Will we qualify for that, though, or?
These will,
Okay.
in part. The one that we're talking about right now.
Just curious that some of this stuff didn't get caught in the original design process. Like, oh, there's a basketball court here. Oh, there's going to be a slope issue.
Actually, because we never really looked at that as an area because it's not part of
Right.
the site proper.
Yeah.
That is something that would be used. And then further discussions with DPW, and how they're actually going to try and move snow down there, store that snow down there, and get heavy equipment down there.
Yeah, on one hand, it needs to be done. On the other hand, it's not really part of the school project because it's town property. So I'd hate to lose something else out of the contingency fund because we have to pay for that. I don't know if that's how this works.
Yeah.
But if we're spending, $75,000 on reconfiguring a driveway, that means like the theater package is probably out, depending on where the money falls. And some of this.
We're not spending $75,000 on maintenance. We're not. In my opinion, this work is a result of design flaws.
Yeah.
And I don't think the town should be spending anything.
No, I can't say you're wrong on that one, Cliff. I kind of agree.
So I'm
Some of
happy
this
to
should have
take
already
that
been.
discussion, right? And so there's two contingencies, right? There's a
The owner's contingency, and then there's the.
right? And then there's an owner's contingency. Okay, notwithstanding which bucket it's in, ultimately it's all owner's money.
Mhm.
Right? There's different uses for those contingencies. So contingency under the construction managers for the benefit of the construction manager to resolve construction-related issues that might be attributable to them. Okay, if it's a design-related issue, right? Those areas are typically up to a certain amount, are typically come out of owner's contingency. We can certainly have the discussion.
We will have the discussion.
That's fine. We will have a discussion. Okay, and we can take that up and figure out where all of that lands. However, right, I'm just trying to explain to the group, what is typical. And also what's typical, right, is that for those types of issues, because there is always going to be design-related EO on a job, every single job, right, and that's contemplated as part of what owner's contingency is for. And in fact, that particular category is an area that's reimbursed by the MSP. So while I'm certainly happy to have that discussion, I'm just laying it out for this group as to that's kind of the process and the history.
So is the purpose of the bus loop lane widening, is that when we realized that it wasn't big enough to actually get a bus around, or what's
No,
the?
That's over in the back.
I mean, I know it's cheap, but what's going on there?
It's
self-evident.
tight. And it's tight,
Okay,
and
so getting a little bit more room.
so we're just adding
Okay.
a little bit more
Okay,
in the back.
that'll make it better. Say, which bus driver did they have try it out? One of the good ones or one of the woohoo ones? Well, I'm sorry, all bus drivers are not created equal.
No,
You've seen some of them drive.
I don't remember who the driver was.
You
but
probably think
she
you had
was-
Rhonda.
She was
actually.
good.
I think you had Rhonda, and
everyone-
she is one of the good
Yeah,
ones.
she is, yeah.
You need to get non-Rhonda.
Larry, there was other work that I thought we were talking about.
We'll get there.
Okay, are we going to get there tonight? Or?
Oh yeah, no.
All
What
right.
we've done is we've looked at we looked at everybody's suggestions, comments, and got dollars to do them. We also looked at it in terms of absolute need and those things that are truly wish list items. And we broke them into 2 slides.
This is the absolute need.
These are the things that we feel should be done. And the other ones are optional. They're not necessary. The site functions, but the suggestion might add value. And it's just a matter of whether the value added is something that the project wants to support.
What about the fire hydrant? Is that what category
That-
does that fall into?
That's its own separate item, and like I said, we got some early pricing on it, and we need to go through it.
Okay.
And I would think that probably would go to the, something that we want to do, but we just need to explore and make sure that what we're proposing works for the dollars that are being proposed. We're trying not to take things apart to get things put in. We want to try and work outside of what we've already built so that we save existing infrastructure. And that will be illustrated with the issue of cars backing in and backing over the sidewalk. And that's all part of the next thing. Yeah, and the last item up here is just, again, widening at the loop in the far end of the bus parking lot, just so that the buses, when it's really the first bus in, it's the tightest for that bus to come out.
Will that include the extra bus parking space?
That we have as a separate. That we have that as a separate cost effect.
But none of the proposed changes.
This particular change just changes the geometry on the island at the end. You still have the island, changes the geometry of the island to widen the roadway, and has the original striping plan associated with it. Questions? If you want to go to the next slide. What is? Sorry? Good. Okay. So what we have on this slide are things that were requested, and we looked at what the change would need to be, and assigned. We did the same. We went out and had the contractor get some pricing based on the schematic. And the first item, 185. Is widening the sidewalk. This is the area where when cars back in, they tend to back into the rear wheels and overhang the sidewalk. I'm not sure exactly how many inches or feet. The cost associated, with widening the sidewalk, which would require removing the existing sidewalk, because of how close we are to the property line, and creating just a cold joint down the middle. Cold joint where we're matching new asphalt to the existing. It's estimated at $43,000. There's a better solution, and that would be to use fiberglass road markers and just embed them between the curbing and the back of the sidewalk.
To keep them from backing into
To
the
keep
curb.
them from backing in. They have flexibility, so you're not hitting a hard fence. the lot is plowed, it's not an obstruction, you're pushing the snow over the sidewalk.
Or buy a $10 sign that says no Zane parking only. And
You know, but people tend to back in and over those. I mean, there are other things that can be done besides just widening the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, I don't know how big an issue it is. I've walked by a number of times now. But I don't see a lot of offenders on that. And the same thing is true in front of the school. I don't see a lot of offenders, on that. So, if people are fitting into the parking space that's right size and not pushing over, everything is fine. But if you want that additional kind of added reinforcement of putting, one of those fiberglass type, sticks in there to go and create additional, hey, by the way, you're going too far.
So this,
Do that too.
this is a stick that goes right to the asphalt that
Yeah,
bangs when you hit it?
Yeah, it has flex. They utilize, a lot of people use them to delineate for their plows, so they don't tear up their lawn.
But I would suggest to the group and to the people who are living and breathing in school every day is it really an issue? So, that's your decision to go.
Those could be added after a top coat, right?
So,
They can be added after a finished
oh,
coat.
they could go
You can
in.
live with it for a year and
You can add anything.
It's just going between where the hot top and the back of the granite curb.
there was fussing on Facebook. That's what brought this up.
Oh, yeah, no,
No,
again,
that's-
we've tried to respond to what everybody's questions or concerns were and associate a dollar value to it. It doesn't mean we have to do it. I don't think when you pull in, nobody's pulling in and hanging over the sidewalk. But people are using the curb as the touch point when they back in to say they're in as far as they need to go. They're actually in deeper than they need to go.
So I originally brought this up. I can say I had two different parents that came to me, and then once they voiced their opinion, a number of other parents that kind of jumped in and said, yeah, I've had this problem too. And I can also say that when I left here this morning, I actually had to walk around the back of a pickup truck that had parked too far into the sidewalk. So I had to veer over into the right when I left to get down to where my car was parked. So it is definitely still going on.
But is it worth $45,000 to correct it? That's the thing.
Well, if
We get to the point where it's a behavioral issue and we're like, listen, if it's a problem, guys, you need to change your behavior because we don't believe it's worth $45,000 to try to correct this.
I'm
Yeah,
hearing that
because
there's another
she
option,
needs-
though, that does not have a price on here. Yes, is that what we just said?
Oh, you mean to put
Yeah.
Bumper guards.
Yeah, they're like $3 a piece. It's not. I can buy a lot for a couple of $1,000.
Right.
You
So I
have
think
it for
how you resolve it, if it can be resolved, let's do it for the cheapest, most durable means possible. So,
And let's also work on the behavior. I mean, maybe we want to think about a, pull-in parking only. Because otherwise you get people who, the reason they're backing in so they can get out faster, which is also a safety issue because then they're driving out of here like a bat on wheels. So, having to pay more attention when they're backing up slows them down, maybe makes it safer. I don't know.
I think part of the reason why they're backing in too, though, is because they are a long vehicle, and it's difficult for probably both them and the vehicle that's opposite them in the parking lot to get turned around.
I think one point that should be made is the depth of those spaces is not any shorter than what the standard parking space dimension is. It seems to be more of an issue that when people back up, you're using their tires to tell them when, and the curb line to tell them when they're deep enough.
It's not an uncommon situation. You see it in lots of places. You can make sidewalks wider, like I'm talking about. it's just more expensive, right? You know, when we're putting this together, we're going out to bid, we're all pretty conscious about trying to keep the costs down, right? And we don't have a lot of real estate to maneuver with. So, again, it's your guys' call, but that might be a short-term or you know, maybe it's a long-term way to achieve both of your goals. You know, because maybe people start to understand, you know, that when they start to hit that, it's a behavior modification.
So is this a safety issue, or is it more just an inconvenience?
So the concern of the parents were, if people are backing that far into the sidewalk, are they aware that if there is a child on the sidewalk behind them, since kids tend to be relatively small, and you have preschoolers that are running ahead of a parent down that sidewalk, if someone's backing in, are they going, if they're going truly back that far to the point that they're parked in with the back bumper of whatever vehicle it is over the sidewalk, are they aware of what's behind them when they're doing that?
So I don't think our solution resolves that problem.
No.
This solution.
It doesn't.
Right.
Just gives them more space to run.
It gives them more space to run, but it doesn't correct the problem of kids staying
It does.
to the far
I just
edge.
wanna-
We talked about painting the inside to try and give the kids a marker, not perfect, but, you know. But I don't know, I mean, you know.
Because the other thing that we also, you know, debated and you know, there was pushback to it was, you know, wheel chocks. And that just interrupts the ability to plow the lawn. Because now you have those impediments that, you know, you're not going to have these long sweeps to just push snow. Round and round with a lot of issues. Again, explored widening it, but the numbers huge.
Well, it sounds like we can agree that $45,000 is too much money for this.
Yeah. So we'll look at some signing.
Now, I was thinking even in like the signs that we have, on what you call them, the signs that are reserved, is not reserved, but if every third it said nose in parking or something like that, even those signs, every 3 spaces or so would kind of create a natural barrier.
Or we can, you know, and we can get some and try them, because it'll be there, so if you back in, you can back into it. Everybody's camera should be picking it up, because it's kind of the way people are driving these days. The next item, 186, again, we were asked to look at lengthening the turn-in at the end of that parking area, and also to eliminate the island currently that's just all paved and striped. We did that as part of us picking up modifications for the initial phase.
So what costs $11,000 eliminating that island? That doesn't cost anything, right? It's not there.
We have a small cost. We have a cost in this curbing that originally there was curbing that came out off the created a horseshoe off the sidewalk. Right now there's a missing piece of curbing because it was originally planted island. So we need to infill that, and then at the far end we need to remove what we've already reset. And
That's where probably where the expense is, I'm guessing, right?
yes, yeah, and then rebuild, because what it pushes out into is landscape area. So what is underneath that area needs to be removed and replaced with something that's supportable.
Is the goal of this turning cars or snow?
No, that was more for the issue. People, some of the comments were about being, pulling out and not having a deep enough slot, and it also allows for additional snow storage.
I think the one on the
bigger
back there were comments that need more turning room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. right? And then
That's
the
what I
little
remember.
island that we're talking
Was for
about
snow.
was for snow.
We covered those last two spots closest to the road.
Go the last, yeah, the last four. Depending on the students.
So I'm going to just forget about the situation.
So who voiced the question about turning? Because I brought up turning, but it was in regard to all those spaces. I mean, I've heard that for that entire bottom section. Was that mine taken out of context, or was that somebody else that brought up, you know?
I don't, I just remember that
There was a specific
request for
this.
deeper for those
this
first group of, I know you also mentioned about the back-to-back
Yeah.
of the vehicles. But again, all the depths for parking spaces and the travel lanes, they are all at highway standard.
And it's no worse than it really was before the project.
People feel
I
like
don't
it
think.
is. I don't know why
I
that
don't
is,
know. I
Jane.
don't
But
think
I mean,
either.
I keep hearing
There's
that
no
over and over
curbs.
again.
People just drove
Well,
right
here's the
along.
thing. People, I think people expect it to be
Straight out
perfect, like, oh, we're
over the old
getting
island.
things
The
new,
curve
or
that
things
people
to be
feel
perfect,
constrained.
without realizing that there's no extra room to make it
I
that
get
much
that
better.
part.
Yeah, I'm not sure everybody does.
Especially when they're that big.
Yeah, we also just don't want to have accidents down there. Cause
Correct.
too, you know?
But it's also no worse than it was before, that I can tell, because I've always parked in those a few times I come in. I don't think it's substantively worse than it used to be. People are just expecting a heck of a lot out of this, and at some point we need to manage their expectations with, guys, the space is very limited in the envelope. Unless we start taking away parking spots to make you a really large, turning around area. Because did you say that we'd lose the last one on either side?
No.
No, it gives them
We
space.
increased the depth so that the first two in the line could go deeper before they went forward.
If you're in a suburban, for example, and you're in that corner spot, the more room you have in that area. So it helps facilitate that. I think we talked about this earlier. The size of the site hasn't changed. The location of the building hasn't changed. We tried the best that we could to improve what we have. I think this is an improvement. I think that can't resolve.
It's not like we
all
tried
of
to
the
cram an extra
issues.
20 parking spots in, and therefore they're smaller than they were before. They're the same size they were before. This looks and feels remarkably similar to what we had before the project started. So there's always going to be complaints out there. I don't know. This seems like another $11,000 that, yikes.
Yeah.
The other piece of this is for snow removal, right? What would need to be changed? Is that $11,000 mostly in that extension
It's
of the
mostly in the
turnaround?
extension. The other piece.
The one piece of granite that we would need to connect the line of granite now that we're not doing the machine. So
Okay.
it's just that one kind of curved piece of granite.
I remember from Patrick, that was the bigger, from a snow perspective.
Yeah.
Correct.
Fixing that island made all the difference because he's got long sweeps.
He wanted the longest possible continuous runs to remove.
Right,
Or
so he's
or-
lifting up and
or-
onto the grass at the end. It
Well,
doesn't
what's the
matter if
difference
there's a space.
between taking out the island? I can agree, understand that from Patrick's perspective, but I can't see the turning radius down there at the end of the parking lot. What's the difference in cost? What part of the 11,000 is?
I don't remember what.
How does that break down?
It's not a 50-50. It relates more towards what is happening at the hammerhead.
I'd agree with Joe. I think that taking out that little island is the best option
It's actually
here.
it's right now it's gone.
Right.
We just need
Yeah,
we
right.
need
So-
we need to add back some curving. We
Finishing
need
it
to add
off.
back some
I'll buy
curving.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to add some curving right now. we paved it as part of the initial binding of the site.
Okay, let's get to the flagpole and $99,000.
Okay.
Where's that at?
That is 188. That's right there. What was talked about, again, this related to snow and clearing.
Let's call it $100,000.
This,
Yeah.
this was in response to, this one was really totally in response to plowing. Circle, but the creation of the island, the granite curving, and being able to come in and not hit curves and things of that nature.
That was raised granite. As it is designed now,
As
it's raised granite.
as designed now, it's raised granite with a landscaped area with the flagpole in it.
But there's no granite there now.
No. We right. None of that was
It's like
installed.
a dirt area.
That's correct. Currently, that's just dirt. It's one of the open dirt areas just out front here.
Right.
What this represents is reconfiguring the island, but lowering everything, utilizing existing granite, depressing it so it's flush, and then infilling the first area that's dark green with a paver, and then having a raised concrete pad at the flat.
So why is it so much money? What is the driver?
The pavers are extremely expensive. Yeah, they're highway rated. It's not, it's not for pedestrian traffic. It's for vehicular traffic, and so there's a huge cost to that. I believe that's how it gets cobbled.
Is there, that would be beautiful, but is there another solution? So if you depress the granite, depress the granite curb so that, and then do a stained concrete or something?
So there's a couple of functions that, you could use different type of paper and save some money there. But anytime we're going to use pavers, it's how long are we going to keep the pavers there?
Right.
How long are they going to last? So, when we did that, we looked at it and said, you're probably going to want to have something that's going to last and going to rip off. Particularly for the reason that we're going and making this change is so that we can have bigger, heavier equipment for making that move. Right? I mean, that's really what the driver is behind all of this. And so, that's more money. You could go and, just pave that whole thing and stripe it and probably save some money. But at the same time, we're also trying to orchestrate how people are going around it. So we want to have some type of definition. And, maybe there's a way to go and just, if everybody said, just make that all asphalt and paint it out, we could look at that too. It is right at your front door. Again, that's up to you. But what we try to do is accomplish the goal of having something that's going to work to deal with the circulation, give people an idea of where they're supposed to be driving, to create an opportunity for when you're driving heavy snow, move equipment there, that it's going to last. And still, we have this flagpole in the middle.
I also believe the comments about the snow were made before snow had been on site. Now having removed it, it'd be interesting to have a follow-up conversation with the person who was removing the snow to see what their reaction would be to that.
Now, right now, the drop-off lane is in that parking lot, right?
Drop-off lane.
Isn't that where the cones are and the markers?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yes. The drop-off is within
So now,
the upper end of the
but
green.
you're going to, the drop-off lane is going to be out in the driveway, right?
To the queuing lane. So the queuing lane.
Queuing
is
lane.
down.
And so that, they're going to loop around that flagpole to drive out.
And then they'll drop right here at the plaza.
How much is the flagpole being used right now? Do you have ceremonies every day or special events?
I would say the flag, it doesn't exist at the moment.
No, it does.
It's out front.
Oh, it's
It's
over
out-
there.
it's out front.
That's right.
It's raised every day.
Yeah, no, there's a pledge of allegiance. salute every.
We have our Memorial Day Assembly.
That's one.
In the past, we've gone out. I remember going out for 9/11 one year.
It's a public building.
I don't think
Yeah,
we would
we
not
need to
have.
flag.
I don't think we
Flag.
would not have.
Yeah, it's
flag.
not for
I
the
think
ceremonies. I mean,
the
this has
issue-
been a focal point. We've spent classroom flags or otherwise. We've spent more time talking about flags. So I think it's not about the ceremonies that happen out there. It's about from the original design. It was everyone wanted the flag front and center. And that's why the island was designed that way.
Right, and what the issue has become is the ability to plow the site has driven us to relook at what we can do to accommodate.
Is that the only
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for that particular, yes, it
$100,000
is.
to make the power
Yes.
guy's life a little bit easier?
Well, I
It
think
was
it-
driving the conversation.
In fairness to Mr. Snow, I think what he's trying to also deal with is, he only has so much equipment that he has to deal with, right? These tools. And, one of the tools that he doesn't have, right, or the school doesn't have, is a smaller piece of equipment that could move around a little bit more agilely in some of these spaces. I mean, this is not a crazy, uncommon, layout the way it's been put together. But I can certainly appreciate his perspective, right? He's a much bigger guy than me too, so that counts. When, he's out there saying, I'd rather push all of this snow because I don't have, a lot of equipment to do a lot of things. I don't have equipment, to be able to do that. But, when you're contemplating, $100,000, you could get a Kubota or something like that with the right equipment for much less money to accommodate many more of these objectives. And you have something that could then, be doing a lot of things.
And you could leave all of that intact in the design. It's that highway machine that
If you ask me, I
was
would say,
on loan.
I would say yes, right? But I plow with the 1500 truck. But he's plowing a big machine.
Right.
So-
We'd have to talk with Pat again.
Right. But I think the consideration has to be given to that if we could save an awful lot of money by purchasing that Kubota and having for the school, they could because he's added on I don't know how many miles of sidewalks and in the street plowing in that island. I think we could save money on that.
Well, maybe we should just go with asphalt painting.
That's another consideration.
We're not spending $100,000.
No,
But at the same time, you don't want to lose sight of public safety. And if we create these thoroughfares, we're going to have cars racing through the site.
They're going to go wherever they want.
And I'm not saying this particular, leaving the existing design raised and all might be a little bit of a plowing inconvenience, but it's definitely going to ensure vehicular control.
Is there a way to just, I would assume for little to no cost, could that island just literally shrink by a foot? I mean, whatever, I'm not making up the number, but just to give Pat just a little extra space, right? So if the whole...
I think Pat's concern was the elevation of the curb itself, not the amount of width that was back.
No, I get that.
Right.
I think the concern then is, as someone just used the word thoroughfares, when you drop everything, you can stripe anything we want. People are going to drive. We think of the old out here before there was anything. People just made new roads. So I think the curbing is our friend in this case, in that it keeps traffic slow. As much as guys driving bigger cars around me hate it. It keeps me slow and methodical. So I just didn't know if that leaving literally the same geometry, and just bringing it in a foot or 2 feet, just gives a little more space for maneuvering around and still keeps the same functionality.
Again, I don't think the width is the issue. It's more the obstruction that's perceived creating the island brings to the design or to the site.
Well, for $100,000 change, I think we're going to have to take another look at that one.
And again, we can. We just, the thing was, how can we make this not impede snow plowing but also,
Still be
again,
safe.
durability, safety, everything else, and, the materials that you need to use, or what we came up with as a group, are what we presented and reflect this, this particular.
So as designed,
Yeah.
take off the green shading.
Yeah.
The
That's
perimeter
it.
is sunk, is raised granite.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
grass to the inner circle, and
Yes.
then it's just a concrete.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's poured concrete.
Poured concrete around the flagpole,
Right, in both.
Yep.
and then a grass planting area.
The description says lane widening. Is it actually widening any of those lanes,
Well,
or is it truly just a drop?
It just drops it.
In an effort to reduce the amount of cobbles,
Yeah.
Okay.
we said, oh, asphalt's cheaper, so let's reel it in a little bit. So you actually have you do end up with a little bit of a wider lane in this scenario because we wanted to try to get the square footage of the cobblestone.
Okay.
It was obviously didn't take us very far, but it was an effort.
But there's no safety reason or flow reason for the lane widening. It's strictly a cost
It's
containment.
Everything works.
Yeah, everything.
Okay, moving on to the South Wing fire lane.
What was the?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a resolution on that one, or are we
Well, I
not?
think
We can
we
talk-
need to talk with Pat first of all.
I think what we can do is, we're putting all these out. We can then go into a working group and really hash out and thrash out,
But what we
the
can,
final-
what we
the
can
final
do here
final
is
details.
that we can take a look and go, after
Yes.
going through all of the items, we could take a committee, get the feelings of the committee on each item,
Absolutely.
and then go to the working
Yeah.
group.
What elements, you still want to explore, but not as presented.
Well, I think
in
this
terms of
one,
materials.
we just have to reduce the cost, come up with a better option.
Well, I think go back to what Brad said. For half the cost, you could buy a brand new piece of equipment that's housed on this campus and does the job and takes the snow removal off of Patrick's plate. I don't remember the cost of the machine that was being loaned, but that machine, Frank loved that machine. It was great.
But
Yeah.
then in 3
Right.
years, when that machine wears out or breaks or what have you, then you're back in the same issue. So then you have to replace the machine.
I mean, these machines, like 50, 60,000 aren't wearing out in 3 years like
Okay.
a Home Depot
Promises, promises.
cadet. The way Patrick takes care of theirs.
Frank only did the sidewalks and the basketball court.
Right, but I'm saying it worked well.
It worked very well.
I mean, he was all over the
Yeah.
whole, couldn't get him off of it.
No.
Yeah, I think he also did loading dock here.
He just did some of the town too, just had so much fun.
That's a
Couldn't-
little different story.
Okay,
So that's
South Wing.
next one is 180, 189, and we looked at that and we feel that can just stay the way it is. We're going to add some widening the outer edge of the pavement with dense grade material. And
What does that mean? That's great.
it's what's under the roadbed,
Gravel.
the asphalt. Yeah, it's a gravel mixture.
So,
And,
so we did the auto turns on that?
Yeah,
The
and-
auto turns are really tight. But even if, I'm just telling you, if you widen that by 2 feet, which is what I think we're talking about, widening this right here, whenever that happens, and I don't know, the fire trucks aren't going to be driving back there very often, let's hope not, right?
Hopefully.
Right? They're gonna go. They're not gonna be like paying a whole heck of a lot of attention. They're gonna get there no matter what, and they're gonna go off, whether it's 12 feet or it's 14 feet. So, but what this does, right, which is the big picture intent, is to not have an area, right, where if it's in the middle of spring, that it could be a mud zone, right? So there's always going to be the ability to get the truck back and forth in here, right? There's the ability to be able to turn the truck around. But this is not going to be like a daily occurrence. We don't ever want it to have that. But we can spend the money to go and wind it by an additional 2 feet, But my bet is when you go out there and you find out when that truck actually went back there, when everybody's going gangbusters to get the truck out there, you're going to be off that whether it's 12 feet, 14 feet, 15 feet. It's a lot of money, and what we can do is we can essentially accomplish by making that more hard pack while not asphalt to accomplish the exact
And when you're widening by 2 feet, so is it literally the entirety from this corner here all the way to the curb wall?
The price reflects widening that whole thing 2 feet.
Everything
Dense
shaded
grade,
green.
paving, soup to nuts.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm confused. So are we talking about additional pavement or just gravel edge around it?
That's what we're proposing is just adding some gravel and not.
But the price
not
reflects,
the
the
price-
price reflects paving.
No. The price reflects doing a full.
The 38,000 is
a
paving.
full road bed. Edge of asphalt to beginning of grass by 2 feet.
38,261.
It expanded by 2 feet.
So I'm sorry, I don't understand. So it's going to cost $38,000 to put a 2-foot strip of gravel.
No,
with asphalt.
With
But
that.
aren't we already paying for that? I mean, isn't that already included in the price? The pavement? We're not. This isn't new. It was going to be paid before, right? It's a 12-foot
No,
wide.
right, we're proposing to go to 14. Add
Oh,
two,
they're adding 2
add
feet.
2 feet.
Of pavement.
Add 2 feet of pavement, which
Yes.
adds all that goes underneath the pavement. Because right now they haven't done part of it. But the whole sandwich would be by 2 feet. You know, everything under the asphalt.
So what if you just have a strip of gravel there?
That's what we're
Well, so Larry was saying,
that's what we're
Cliff, if I
saying.
could, what Larry was suggesting is we don't need to do this.
Okay.
What we could do is look at, if it still looks tight when we're done, we could widen it out with gravel later on. It's not something that we need to make a decision on now.
Okay.
We're already talking about moving the light pole bases back 2 feet, which isn't going to cost anybody any money because they haven't been set yet. So it's going to give us space in itself right there.
And then the only concern, like to Brad's point about driving off the road anyway, would be if it was mud season, which
Sure.
if we put a few feet of dense grade around the edge would solve that problem.
Yeah.
Well, you still might drive into the mud though.
You might, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but these guys are pretty good.
Yeah, no.
They're going to drive it around. It's going to go off the edge a little bit on a turn, and then it's going to basically come back on.
And if they do go off the edge, they're there for a reason. No one's going to fault them for their driving skills. They're going to praise them for dealing with what they had to deal with. So,
Well, they can't even get
So,
around
you know,
it.
it'd be great, again, you know, if everybody said, let's make this completely, bulletproof, and we would have made it 16 feet.
Right.
But, again, we were not trying to go and, just spend a whole lot of money. We were trying to get a lot of things done with the budget.
So what would the price be without new pavement?
We're trying to make that work, so.
yeah, we're just trying to
see.
exactly. As part of their it gets done.
Well, do we have a consensus that we don't need new pavement, at least for now?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are we really voting on that one right now?
We're going to vote on that one right now.
Okay.
Motion has been
So
made.
P189 is
Seconded.
dead.
Hmm?
P189 is dead.
189 is dead.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. That makes sense.
Does everybody understand we are cutting out that paving for $38,261.
Or maybe phrasing it differently, we're building it per the drawings.
Yeah.
We're not modifying what we already have on our documents.
Right. All those in favor? Aye.
We vote that Joe does the fire.
The next one is at the end of the north end of the north wing. We looked at the width of the road in reaction to what was discussed previously, which was a change from the original programming where buses would come into the bus loop, offload, and remain until everybody was in and off their buses. And then they would then go out, which left that road area, for the most part, one lane. I mean, it's wider than one lane, but that you weren't going to have two buses passing side by each, coming around the curves.
Right.
And in it's the last, or maybe the one before that, it was discussed that maybe that buses would not wait, or the first bus wouldn't leave until would leave before the last bus got in if there was a late bus. So we looked at what it would take to create a two-way travel lane in that area.
Matt, imagine if that area that we're talking about, which is that little kind of small horseshoe area at the top, has center line. So when the bus makes the turn, if you're trying to keep it like 100% within that center line, the wheels are probably going to go off the edge of it. But if in a normal course, right, you have 22 feet, if that's one way, it's certainly not an issue, right, because there is no center line there, but you would be encroaching upon that magical center line. Right. Everybody makes the turn. So this is an issue from an operational perspective that's easily solved, I would suggest. And even if it were something where you still wanted to have buses going two ways, right? I think if somebody's out there that says, oh, by the way, hold off because this bus is coming out, or, it's a little bit of common sense, don't drive the bus around when you see another bus coming type thing. I think you save yourself the cost of that change.
Right?
I mean, I'm thinking not even for the day-to-day routine use. Thinking about Alice and the training, and if we were evacuating people, buses were going two ways. I think that's a dangerous pinch point to not be able to have two-way bus traffic. I can't think of the perfect scenario, but as you just described, Brad, there's no easy way to know if a bus is coming around, right? So if I'm a bus driver and I'm leaving, until I get around the end of the north wing, there's no line of sight for me to know if someone's coming in.
Right.
So for me, that I think is something that, speaking with Rhonda, I know as they were doing the drive, that's a concern to me to not be able to have two-way bus traffic going back and forth.
But in your normal everyday school day, all of the buses pull into the parking lot, park in the bus area, and all of the buses would wait until the last bus was in before the first bus could leave.
That's a change in operation.
That was how
That would be a change.
Yeah, that would be a change. Right now, the buses pull in, offload, and then pull out.
Right.
And
So the
if
discussion
there's-
was changing operating when it goes back there. To keep it the same as it is now, we would need to have the wider lane because buses come in and out. And honestly, no, it's a afternoon. It's after the second. I'm just thinking because they run out. Most of the buses go out and do a middle school run, high school run too. They've done that first.
But correct me if I'm wrong, when we originally set the parameters for doing this, we did talk about that the new bus area would be for all the buses to be there together and then follow up. That they wouldn't just be they wouldn't be going they wouldn't be crossing paths.
I mean, I don't remember that specific discussion. At the end of the day, absolutely. So 9 buses are lined up, we dismiss, everyone's good, loaded, 9 go.
What are the
In
safety
morning, it's
implications of
different.
having buses pulling out? Because they pull through this way, right? They pull in.
They come in.
They come in.
Pull in, and then they come
And
out.
then they loop around here. What are the implications of having the buses staggering like they are right now, where you have one that's pulling in, offload, kids are, what if, I can just see kids going every which way as another bus is pulling in. I guess they do it now successfully, so maybe we don't need to worry about that so much because it's working right now.
How do people feel about, similar type of solution because if you do buy into, if you could buy into the operation and where the buses are stacked, then we're talking, Brian, I think about that situation where it's like an emergency situation. And, it's tight, but if we put some dense grade on that edge, similar to what we were talking about on the edge, to pack that down, right? In that particular situation, right? If the bus tire went off by a foot, call it 2 feet or something like that, it's not like they're going to fall off a cliff. It's going to go off the edge a little bit, but it's also addressing how often would that situation occur. And even if it did, it still happens. It's not big.
Well, Brian, if we have an emergency situation like that, the buses can they still fit around that loop in the front in the event of an emergency where kids on and out immediately? They can fit around that loop in the front. That way they're all in and out.
The only impediment out front would be if any cars were parked in the space. We've eliminated parking to facilitate the buses coming in and around the front. So if you change where that nobody loaded from the back of the site and they loaded from the front,
in emergency, we likely would.
The problem would be any of those cars along the west side of the parking field being in place. That they would make it difficult for the bus to make the swing.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at, so if this is the 50-year solution for $15,000, that road isn't ideal, and to do it correct, to make sure, right now, there isn't the need for it, but if in 2 years' time it's necessary, it's a very big deal to go back and redo the roadway versus now solving it. And I'm also thinking about the fact that that's going to be a heavily used parking lot for Triton Youth basketball. So the winter, like November through March, that gym, and I understand that it's fine for two-way traffic, but I think the more, we don't have traffic going around the end of the building right now, and that's going to be a new thing to have people in that back parking lot. So the more space we have, Triton Youth basketball goes to 9 o'clock at night. I mean, just the thought of people coming in, people coming out, people flying around that corner, it's completely blind. And I want to assume that people are going to drive slowly on campus, but I don't think extra space is a bad thing, given the layout, not just for buses, just in general, going around that corner. I don't think extra space is a bad thing.
Just point of reference, the existing roadway is 22. What's in the documents is 22 feet wide.
So that's adequate for cars.
So 22 feet for vehicular traffic, you'd have no problems. Two-way is
talking about buses.
Yeah.
correct. And if if they both hit it perfect, everything's probably fine. If one bus takes a little more out of the turn than need be, it just pushes the other one further out and off the road.
My idea there about putting dense grade to do what we're doing down here won't work because Chip pointed out correctly that we have a continuous curve on the outside. So driving over that curve. Yeah, that was a B.
Do we need the curb?
It's
We need a storm. We probably do for stormwater, so we don't just have water sheeting up.
Would there be any reason for emergency vehicles like ambulances and stuff like that to park in that horseshoe lane kind of lined up for stuff and still have the second lane for egress?
But it's still wide enough for it's just the buses that we're concerned with.
Yeah.
It's a 22-foot wide
Okay, so we'll say if another
ambulance.
fire engine comes in,
Then we have an emergency car.
okay.
You soften those radius, the inside radius?
So I was
Well,
thinking.
one is
That curve's already
the
set.
inside. That's all established. That's all in place. It's all granite and concrete.
Yep.
We can keep looking.
Yeah, I mean, I
You know,
just think
the one thing we just also need to realize is that, you know, we're about to get back into construction, so we
Yeah, we can look at it longer, but I don't know.
I don't know if we're coming on.
Right, nothing's gonna change.
Exactly.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
What's the correct dollar amount? The 14,995 or 20,034?
You have a typo?
Oh, 191 on here.
Yeah, no, actually, I think I know what. We combined 91 with 203.
Yeah, so 203 is.
With 203.
65.
203 is the gate.
Do you want to just talk about that since we're in the.
Yeah, no, I wasn't moving off it. The other thing that, again, in response to
I don't know.
controlling the back.
The gate.
The
Yeah,
gate.
part of here
If
is
you
part
look
of
at,
the
if you look
widening
at
the road is
69,
15.
16 here,
So what is
and 65, 57 up there.
The gate that's listed on the sheet is 6,900, so when you say that's combined with 191, do you have a breakout? 'Cause
Yeah, we still have a numbers problem. They're not matching up with the sheet. The gate up there is 6557. It's 6916 on my sheet. In the 20,034.
We were asked to price it with a 26 foot. After the 24 foot, we were asked to price it with 26 feet, and that's what the problem is. This is back down to
There's
widening.
a couple $100 difference from. That was,
So the skew on this sheet is not, that's the right number. This is the, so
Okay, so 191, the widening revision is for how much?
the number that's up there, 14,9.
14,995, and that's going to widen it from what to what?
22 to 24.
22 to 24.
Correct. And then the gate at 6557 is a 24.
Correct, that's
foot
right.
Let's say a single arm.
But just keep in mind, right, when they make that turn, right, when you put it out to 24, you're going to have to still be really driving,
Yep.
right? Because it's going to be tough. If you can make that 26 and if you don't take that right approach angle, it's just going to be tough. It just is what it is. This will help.
What will help? Going to 24?
Going to 24 gives you 2 more feet of cushion.
How much difference is there between buses? Because we have to renegotiate our transportation contract every few years, and we can change companies, and they do use different style buses. How much of a difference is there between buses that we have now and?
I mean, it'd be a standard 77, so the wheelbase would be pretty much the same, whether it's an international or
Yeah, I'm
Uber.
not sure how they, as they age in terms of design, how
Yeah.
where they make their modifications.
I think if anything, they figure out how to shorten the wheelbase to make them more maneuverable, but it's pretty standard.
I know some of them have like no front end. I didn't know if that moved the front wheels forward in the
Not much.
undercarriage.
If you look
no?
at the design. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think those are going by the wayside. No, whatever.
Okay, are we ready to move on to
Apologize for
the bus loop or what? All right, bus loop. 192.
192. We were proposing to
Where is 192?
192.
Did we talk about the gate, or are we going back to the gate?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we
Gate is the, well, all right.
Well, I thought. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
well,
thought Larry
yeah,
said
yeah.
let's combine
Yeah.
this in, and then.
There's also proposed to add a gate, which would limit
Access during
car
the day.
traffic
Yeah.
during the day to the back lot. Right now we have signs that limit, but they're signs. We looked at adding a gate, because one of the things that happens out in the back area is it's also a recreation area, closest to the building. There's a series of painted elements on the asphalt to assist in recess.
Okay, and what is the figure? Is it 6557 or 6916?
Go with 6557. It's a better one.
So for the gate?
That's for the gate.
I think that's...
It was priced as a fiberglass gate, not a steel gate.
Steel gate
Was upwards to 30 because of the foundation to support
it's a heavy duty structural
I don't think
foundation.
people are running this down, so I think just there needs to be a deterrent if we have that's kids during the day and someone who's just not thinking. Used to going to youth basketball around the corner every Saturday and just something there.
There's no parking elsewhere, so I'm going to swing back and run straight into recess.
The what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean, people could.
People could.
It's a gate that's shut during the day.
So yeah, we were saying we would
It's a
shut it.
safety issue.
It would stay open all the time. During the
Yeah.
day, we would shut it
Yeah.
from basically once the buses leave, shut it, open it up. That first bus in,
And the bus.
opens it back
So
up.
it's like a safety issue.
because the other
Wouldn't be locked. I mean, so
the other part is that
It's a realistic price.
Yeah. Yeah.
the bus entrance into the school is only it's
Like
not
if
for
kids in the
parents.
garden,
Right.
No one
they're
has
not
the
back
ability
there, and people, once they
to
get used to
into
parking
the
back
building
there, are going, I'm going to park back there because it's closer.
due to
Once they
the
go.
access controls that
There's not someone
we've
inside.
already established as part of the project.
Yeah.
So there should be no excuse for any parents being, unless it's an off-hours event in the gym.
So you're going to put it in the middle of that green area, the gate.
Yes, somewhere.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about the gate?
Would you be better off putting the gate at the beginning of the green area?
No,
so that
because
staff
you need the rec
access?
field. You need to access the
Oh,
rec
okay,
field.
got it. So there is a place for people to turn around.
Yeah, they can
too.
still go
Okay.
into the rec parking.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, back.
North wing. We cover that? Yes. East wing? A bus loop. Island grass curving to asphalt. Striping revision.
Basically, dumping the grass island, paving the whole thing and striping it.
And that adds the four more bus lane parking area.
It adds. It doesn't add bus parking because the bus parking is already established.
Okay.
It adds night vehicular parking that's more delineated. Right now, we just have bus lanes. That's part of the striping plan, and with the new plan, it would be. You'd have the heavy bus lane. It would be subdivided just to give an indication of where you would nose in, or how deep you would go, so that you had 2 spaces versus just the one. And then where the island was, we were able to create additional spaces.
So it's $28,000 to get rid of the island or to include the island?
Well,
The grass.
we're getting rid of the island, but we're creating more parking
So what's the $28,000 cost then?
for
What's
the
the
new
change?
parking.
For the new parking.
It's a completely different
Okay.
subsurface requirement, as well as the additional.
What about the curbing change?
Curbing change is 193.
No, okay, but 192 says must loop island and curbing change. That's
Getting rid of curbing.
Yeah.
Curbing to add.
Changing curbing to asphalt.
So currently, was it a granite curb?
Yeah, the island is granite.
Is it granite there now?
No, it's not really.
No.
It's partly it's dirt right now.
So that's not a cost, is it?
Curbs
To turn-
here.
To turn the what will be that island to a parking area that will last Yes, it's a cost.
It has to be paid.
It's a cost.
right?
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that. So basically, we'd be paying to turn that grass island into a parking lot.
Correct.
With no curb. The curbing's not an issue, it's not there now.
No, he's right. The curbing is. And then if we didn't do that, we talked about just pulling back the curbing in 200. The other slide, 200. Build it the way it's designed, but pull it back to widen the road a little bit.
That was in one of the must-dos. Right?
Yeah, that was on the right in the first slide.
But wouldn't be necessary, obviously.
Right, that isn't necessary. If we picked up this, the road becomes flat, and there's no turning issues or anything else.
Larry, a couple of meetings
Yep.
ago when we were talking about this, we talked about the special education vans.
Yep, that's
In the original
that's-
design, where I'm trying to recall.
In the original design, we never had a parking space for the van. We always envisioned the van pulling up to the curb drop, right there, and offloading the kids, and then leaving.
All right, so is there a need to have parking? I don't know. Christine's not here. I don't know who to look through. Brian, I don't know if you. Is there a need to have parking for those vans? Because I thought that was one of the discussion points for changing this, was that if we had multiple vans back there, if I'm thinking correctly, that was it a worry about queuing, or I feel like there was something that we talked about, whereas if we had multiple special education vans back there, that there may be a need to have those spaces. I think the ones in the big
Right,
island.
yeah, we created those two new spaces. Previous, they would just line up along the curb line, because the way the road is divided with the island, it isolates those vans from the buses.
Yeah, I think the spaces is better. I don't think the queuing up along the curb is. The issue is that it's got to be a curb. Right
There is. There's a
There'll
ramp.
be
No,
only one unloading at a time.
there's a ramp and I mean, it's necessary.
I think it's great to just have the open paved space and not just overshot that it's $35,000 to do two of those a month. I guess that's. I think it worked. The original design works. We're having the vans queue along the curb.
That was where the arrow is now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So leaving it alone, leaving it as a grass island there and a grass
Right.
island at the other end. I think both of those work. I think it was 35,000 to nix both of the islands and have the parking.
And we're taking out the grass island at the end just for additional parking? Cars? Nighttime?
Yeah.
Yeah, it defined the area better for passenger vehicles. We would, in the original design, we more or less relied on everybody's common sense to utilize the bus lanes to park and not park in a way that nobody else would park without.
We can still do that. So if there's 10 bus lanes, we can still strike them in half, so there's 20 spaces.
Right.
Correct. Yes. Paint is cheap.
Yeah. This is the original design. Yes.
Yeah, not worth $35,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nope,
It's a 35,000.
or 30,000.
I'll trade you the wider lane for 15 on the end. Negotiate. There it is. We'll widen the lane and leave that as is.
Yeah, I'd rather drop the 35,000 for the striping, taking out the island.
Plus this. Make the wider.
If the grass dies, we can just let people park there.
So what are we talking about? Talking about the bus loop island and the van parking?
Yes.
Yeah.
35 grand.
Yes.
So are we taking that out or?
I ask one more question? We have currently 8 buses, right?
Yes.
Currently 8 buses.
So the original plan would give us room to add one more bus if we needed to?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm almost positive there were 9.
I think there were 9.
I was, saying, so when there's 10, what do we do?
Right, okay. I just want to make sure, given that we can't have 2 passing easily, and if we didn't have enough room back there, we'd have to get a bus out to get a 9th bus, if we added a bus. But that's only if we basically had to add 2 buses at some point, right?
And according to the state, we're going to drop down another 100 kids anyway, so.
It's 9.
It's 9, yeah.
So there's 9.
9.
Yeah. Okay.
And if we go to 10, we're going to have to, not to rehash an old discussion, but those extended learning areas are going to be between classrooms too. So.
Okay.
Want to talk about that? We passed that. We know it.
We're furnishing next week.
Okay, just checking. I didn't know how far along we were in the
We can't.
Yeah, I have a motion to take out that $35,000. I'd like that on the record.
So moved.
Second.
PCO 192 and 194. Brian, you make motion?
I moved. My second.
Second by Cliff. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. We have
Cover them all.
Do we do 194? Oh, wait, no, 193.
193.
I'm sorry, yes.
East Wing.
Yes.
Just dropping, so.
That's to change the curb to slope granite for getting the plow up and over, to plow the road.
I think it was the fire chief wanted that too, for ease getting a truck.
And yeah, but that would be the back end.
Oh, that's out in
That
the...
would be the back end of the benefit, but in order to keep the area open,
It's currently vertical, right?
it was by Tunis, and the fear was clearing it, hitting it with the plow blade and just tearing it all up and creating a little edge. Whereas the granite curbing, we can really most of to the first 10 minutes.
Why do you need a curb? I think I asked this before.
The other thing, we're controlling surface water. So if we eliminate all these curves, then we're not
It's very swampy back
forcing
there.
water to go to the drainage system.
Okay, going through the list, just so that we're all on the same page. On the reconfiguring on the main entry drive per option A, we're going to discuss the cost with the group, the working group. On the widening of the bituminous sidewalks by 2 feet to Main Street, we're dropping that, or
I think we should drop it.
I thought I remember you said dropping it, and we would find other means, whether signage or
Sticks.
okay.
sticks, $3 sticks.
Tasers,
Tasers.
zap people if they pull too far in. Is it in the budget? They cost more than $3. But
Okay.
I'll volunteer to stand there and zap people if they pull too far in. Sounds like fun.
Back up too far.
If you get the little machine to do around the middle of the thing, you could just use that to push the trucks away from the sidewalk. Just thinking.
Can we also leave notes for people who are driving cars bigger than they really are able to handle?
Talk to them, Jane. You can stand out there for 12 hours a day and turn blue.
A couple people deputized.
Okay, let's go on. 186. Curb cut. What was that?
I thought the consensus was that we don't need to do it.
We're just going to infill we're going to infill the missing granite.
You have to do that.
So everybody on?
Well, that's on the end. Oh, yeah.
Is that the consensus? Okay. And 187. pedestrian sidewalk, basketball
But
court,
I think the working group should discuss that.
working group. And the flagpole,
We should, in my opinion, meet with Pat and see, go over some of these options and see how he thinks about it. We'll decide.
I agree with that. I just think I personally feel like it would be a safety issue if we moved to straight asphalt with striping on there. I think we're going to have an issue with people flying through that area.
So just to make sure, so for spending no dollars, we have what was designed, the raised bed. So I think that as a base is the best way forward, and then we have to figure out with Patrick. But if the solution is helping snow removal, again, for half the cost, we can put a piece of equipment on this campus that can help solve that problem. I would say I think there's ways to solve this for a heck of a lot less than $100,000.
Well, the other option was the one you mentioned, I think, just making that island a little.
Right, just shrinking it in a little bit, which I assume would be no cost. None of that's been set, right? So that's just
It's modifications to what we've already owned, cutting things up and field cutting to making all the curbings here for that area.
It's designed
So we
to fit.
have to now cut and fit in the field
yeah.
and make it work. So there is cost.
I'll volunteer sometime. Good at cutting straight lines.
I'm not suggesting that I agree with all of the pricing, but I'm just telling you the reality of it is that you're going to have to change that curve, all the radius will change. You're going to have to go and do sub-base for all of the new pavement around that where we're putting it in, and then we're going to have to add, the asphalt itself. And if you look around just at some of the pricing that we've had for some of this stuff, my bad, because that's been coming somewhere around 20 grand plus or minus, just spitball.
Okay. So what's the discussion?
189,
Can I ask just one question? Do the janitors on staff here be capable of maybe using the Kubota or?
Yeah, so
Yeah, Frank
the
does.
head custodian now is borrowing that machine. I forget
Ventrac.
the Ventrac,
Yeah.
the sidewalk machine. So he's been borrowing it from Patrick Shop.
Supplement the highway department's.
Absolutely.
That's what I really understood that to be.
Yeah, and it would be a piece of equipment the town would own, but if it was here, we would. There are maintenance crews that would be very happy to participate and do the sidewalk clearing and help out. Absolutely.
okay, 189,
Oh, we already
that.
voted that one down.
That
we
one.
voted,
Yeah, this
that
is
one
the
down?
just the grade.
189.
We struck that.
Yep.
Okay, and 191, we've got that figure in at 14,995 for the widening of that roadway. That, we'll talk in the working group.
Sure. Cliff said I could have it, but
And
I think that's worth doing, but
I
for my money.
I just think that
Seems like a reasonable thing.
we don't have traffic going around the back of that building now, and I just think we're going to be amazed at how much traffic is back there. For not just for I keep saying youth basketball, but it's with that public
But even
access
just
to the
regular
gym.
cars, people are always drifting.
Yeah.
And we have a number of roads in this town that don't have, lanes down the middle, and there are always people driving in the middle of the road. I think we need to give people as much room as possible.
And it's blind.
And it's
So
blind,
I just
yeah.
So maybe
Okay.
if the working group kind of does a
Yeah.
little site walk out there and
Yeah.
look at it, and maybe you can use their own cars and
Yeah.
get a feel,
Yeah.
make a recommendation.
We're like a game of chicken out there to see what happens.
192 and 194 were taken out, and I'm putting in the north wing gate with 191. And so the back lot granite curbing for, I would suggest leaving that in. Yep. And the bus loop curb change.
Oh, that's from the original. So because we're not
200.
changing it,
You don't need 200.
we do need 200.
if we're not doing striping. Yeah,
You're not doing-
sorry,
Right, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
So that's one of those must-dos.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I think that's because that came straight from Rhonda, right? Was here and
Yeah,
literally
we went- yeah.
when lining the buses up, it was too tight to get around that.
Coming out of the first.
That's one of those things that would have been really nice to catch as part of the original design process. I mean,
Possible.
buses are known entities. I know, it's tight.
But it's,
It would have been great.
Yeah.
They do it on out there and it works.
I mean, the other thing I'd say is that you have 9 spaces, you're only using 8. Just don't use that one for the bus.
Okay, moving on to number 6, FF&E update.
So the only, since last meeting, Phase 4 has been released. Board of Selectmen approved it. When the PCOs got issued, I think, for Tuesday. 5 went out, 5, 4,
I
and
thought you said 5, 4.
Phase 5.
4 is in fabrication and on the way, and as Larry had mentioned earlier, will be delivered end of the week of the 31st. Phase 5 was approved since last meeting, and those have been released. We don't have any dates yet for getting them back, but they all know the end date, and are all on. But we don't have a. We know when they do want to deliver it. We just don't have that final end date. Everyone's got the dates.
I have a FF&E comment to make. I reached out to Lee Wolfing, Torrell Whittier about the new AET devices that are going to be supplied in the project. There are 2, and we're trying to get them compatible with the ones that are in the district, the Cardiac Science G5s. And the reason that is we have them on a maintenance program that we pay for the maintenance service. They come in once a year and we make sure they're rescue ready on a daily basis. But if the pads need to be replaced because they're coming up to be expired, or the batteries. And so I think that's important to do that. And unfortunately, I developed a relationship with the cardiac science representative because the AED at Triton Regional School was deployed during a cardiac arrest where the person did not survive after the fact at the hospital. But it was there. It was, 3 agencies used it on the person, but they were unsuccessful. So that's why I think it's nice to keep it consistent. And I have a better handle on it, and I know when things are coming up, and I hope we can work that out.
Yeah, we're going to first try to handle it. The ones that were purchased through the project, we're going to try to work with WT Rich and see what options we have available just to replace the ones that they have already sourced. If that fails, then we'll look to do something through equipment. Our first step would be to try to work it out with the contractor to get the models you guys.
Okay. And they've been provided with the specifications, the models, and the menu.
Can I ask a question? Are the classrooms getting paper towel and soap dispensers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know. I know Tom has left us, so I don't know when they will install this.
Because I know, like, even the North Wing doesn't have them yet.
Yeah, I know.
No,
the final locations on them about last week.
They weren't the surface mounted ones.
Yes,
Right,
they are.
they were.
Yeah,
So
they
it was
are.
Part of discussion.
We had a source.
With the seafoam.
Correct.
We'll find out where that is. I don't know. I think Frank approved, I think, the ones, the latest round. I think now they're probably in order.
I think he approved the opera ones.
Yeah.
But they are coming.
They are coming. That's just the big question. Is
Yes.
my soap. Okay.
Very good question. Yes. Okay. All set?
All set. Thank you.
Okay. There's a requisition going to be into Karen Monday?
Actually, I lied. Tuesday. I'm a day late. Sorry.
Okay. Tuesday.
Tuesday. You'll have it
You're
Tuesday.
telling
Sorry.
You're telling her.
I know. I thought I'd tell her tonight. I'll tell her tomorrow.
I'll tell them.
Thank you.
No,
Look at that.
I'll take the hit.
Look at Debbie taking one
I'll
for the
I'll
team.
take the hit.
No, I'll take
I'm
the
the one that
hit.
has to do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we said by the 20th. we meet by the 21st.
I have a selectmen's meeting, I'm not gonna get to it now Monday anyway.
Okay. MSBA paperwork?
Yes, I have one item. As part of the original permit for the Mass DOT, that's something we didn't have in the original project budget, and we were in hopes of being able to utilize funds in Niche Engineering's current contract, only that didn't work. The full value of their contract, their current contract would be expended, so I'm asking for permission to enter into a contract extension addition
Amendment.
with Doran Whittier for Niche Engineering for $28.60. And it's for the original, not anything subsequent, just the original permit file for the curb cut on 1A.
So they knew the value of the permit, and we had an ASR already established for that.
Right.
And with not really knowing all the details in the conversation, I convinced Larry against his better judgment to take money from from that pile, without kind of having worked all the way through, and then there was a subsequent permit that had to get paid. So what we should have done at that time was come to you with that permit in and of itself, that cost, because it was a valid cost. The Mass DOT requested something in addition. So basically, we took the money from one bucket without, well, we should have just in the first place come to you and asked for a clean amendment. So we took money from one bucket, so we're just replenishing that bucket to where it was before for the prior.
The cost is what?
$28.60.
So we shouldn't have emptied that bucket.
We shouldn't have.
Correct.
We shouldn't have tapped into a bucket.
We anticipated not having to do the full expenditure, and
Yeah.
it proved that we were wrong. I was wrong.
Does that have to be signed off?
I need, what I will do is I will, if it's approved here, we'll go before the selectmen for their approval, because it's a contract amendment.
Okay. Because we won't have it on for Monday night, right?
Do it under the Pine Grove School website.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we can, is that all right?
I'm sure. Take it up Monday.
So I'll make a
Is
motion.
that something?
Motion to
Maybe.
approve?
Second.
Motion to approve and second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
State permit?
Excuse me?
This is for state permit?
It's for the highway, for the curb cut.
Yeah.
So
I
that
just
the cars can
got the
go out,
notice
the
when
cars
we
can go
were-
out into,
Monday
State
morning.
giveth and taketh away.
Yep.
absolutely.
For the original curve.
The original curb cut, yes. It's for the work done on the original curb cut.
Okay, future meeting dates. This I want to hear. Are we going to set one in June?
Yes, absolutely.
Careful.
What's anybody's pleasure? Before school or after school?
When in June are we talking?
You mean
Last
before
day's
school
the
ends, or-
14th.
That's what I mean,
Like,
yeah. That's what I mean,
before school ends?
Before school ends.
Is it just a regular meeting, Larry? 'Cause
It's
I
just a
know-
regular meeting, but what we could pick up is, there's a lot of conversations that are going to be taking place, and I don't want anyone to feel left out in the conversation, or what decisions have been made, or recommendations have been made, because what ultimately will happen, we'll end up going before the board of selectmen on certain things.
So when I talked to you yesterday, you had said it would be better to have it sooner than a month.
Yes, correct.
Are we thinking 3 weeks, 2 weeks? What's?
Yeah, I would,
Well,
I mean, you know better than I do what pace this.
yeah, no,
The 13th is the
13th
grade
is
6
a-
celebration. So
correct,
that,
yeah, no,
This
13th is
room's not
out,
available.
the 5th, there's something also happening on the 5th, there's an ice cream social.
So Thursday the 6th is open.
Yeah, does June 6th work?
I could do 6th. Same time we do it, evening.
Thursday the 6th?
But you can't go, right?
Oh.
It's just that date's a problem for us.
Unless you take us out to the Azores.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'll be on an airplane.
And I thought
Let me check.
I thought you were later.
Yeah, I think it is the 6th, John.
I thought you were-
I don't know, everyone seems to know
He'll
about
already
your schedule better than you do.
emotionally
No, I'm
His
leaving.
wife keeps us informed.
I'm leaving on the 11th.
That's yeah.
So we're saying
Six works.
no
The
during
sixth
Whittier
works.
representation.
Well, Margaret could come and furniture, but like if you're getting into a bunch of this type of stuff, we wouldn't, we actually have a planning board.
Okay. So would we have, there would be no Dorn Whittier reps? Engineering.
Just
side.
me to meet up.
Well, it sounds like this would be more of a working group, so the next few Fridays here.
Yeah, and we'll
You
take
guys be
what
there.
is synthesized out of the working group
Okay.
and just
Yeah,
and bring it forward.
I don't want to all of a sudden, you have on the 6th and then we don't show, and it's like, all right, this is so you know.
All right.
So, I mean, the working group would come with a recommendation.
Absolutely,
These things
absolutely.
Yeah,
To the committee.
to the
Correct.
committee on the June 6th.
June 6th, 6:30 p.m.
We'll still have somebody who
We wouldn't be so bold as to talk about what's going to over the summertime, although we're taking the site again, so we need to move off site.
You're keeping Chris in the crew, right? Not to say we don't want
Yeah,
it. Just make sure that's on camera. We didn't want to try and get it. Just check.
That's something
They're going to
separate.
put her in her office.
You know she's watching this,
That's
right?
something
You
separate.
know she is, exactly.
They're going to wall it
That's
off.
something separate.
Yeah.
Lock her in.
Maybe what's everybody's pleasure for
So what's the
the
question?
July and August.
For meetings, you mean?
Yeah. I can't remember if we suspended a month last year.
Can't remember.
I don't think we met in August, at least not the first couple of weeks of August.
We took a tour in August.
We took a tour in August.
Schedule one if we think it's necessary.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's better to put something on the calendar
Yeah,
now and
let's-
be able to
We'll decide
do
in
it
the
then.
June meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And go with the best.
Okay.
Unless you think there's something that's going to be pressing in July.
By that time,
Swinging a couple weeks either way.
if we're doing deep changes and things like that, the committee needs to get involved in, they'll jump off.
Where's
whatever,
Tom?
Whatever bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Tom?
Our neighbor.
Who's still on target for
Conspicuously absent.
Labor Day?
Oh, yeah, no, that date is excellent stuff.
Which one?
Labor Day.
Labor Day. 5 up and down. We'll turn over on the prescribed date.
I'm sure I'm going to be visiting every day. Final week.
It's not going to be a pleasant summer.
That's right.
And hopefully it won't rain every day like it's been. Because this place will be 6 inches deep in mud on that summer.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have another, I just want to acknowledge and appreciation of the town administrator, the board of selectmen, putting me on the agenda to repurpose that equipment that does have some value. It's proprietary, it does have some value, but I appreciate that, and
I'm glad that worked out.
it did.
It's boiler equipment, just
Yes.
clarifying.
Yes.
It's boiler equipment and an air dryer for a pneumatic compressor system, which they're not used very much anymore, but this one is worth seeing.
What's happening to the floor polishing equipment, or was that rental stuff? Since we now have linoleum, they no longer need to do the layer of stuff on the floor that they used to. Is that equipment that we owned or rented?
Old equipment.
Or was that just
Yeah,
a
Like burnishers and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they still use the auto scrubber
Okay.
and the
It's still
swing
around.
machine that can be used for cleaning.
Okay.
There'll be no chemical stripping on the floors.
Same machine, different pads.
All right.
You looking for
I was hoping to just get rid of more
next-
stuff.
Yeah.
Come around on May 31st.
Yeah, that's
Let
right.
Stuff get trashed.
20 minutes of getting rid of.
May 31st.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. The other construction site will be open to the public on June 22nd.